a light that shimmers like a diamond in the night, a fire that is powerful and strong, and I call it home.
We are down here in Tijuana, Mexico. Our purpose here this weekend is to build a house and to make a training video that will help you understand what the house building process looks like.
Yeah, and you said to her home.
The first step in building a house, after you've arrived on the site and met the family and prayed with them, the first step, level the site, because flat is a relative term here in Tijuana.
We need to check the level of the ground, so we'll do that using the water level. Water level is a big long tube of plastic tubing, which we will attach to these pieces of wood. What we'll do as we take it around the site is we'll have one that will always stay at the lowest point of the site, and then the other one will move around the site. And if it's a spot that's a little bit higher, then the water will go below the line if the spot is higher, and then you know how much you have to dig down.
We've used the water level to make sure we're all level on our space here. The whole slab is within 2 inches of being level. That's close enough for what we're doing now. What we're doing now is we're nailing together our form. We're going to make it into a rectangle and then square it up and level it up once it's in a rectangle. Before we square up the frame as a whole, we're squaring each corner with a framing square to keep it good and square while we move the whole frame around.
This is the one point in your life where you know that your sophomore geometry is really paying off. In order to make sure that the right angles are square in a square, diagonals have to be equal. So we're going to take 2 tape measures at the same time, and we're going to place them on the outside corner of the frame. And then Dale's going to go into the center here and see where they intersect. If they intersect at the same measurement, then we know we're square. And then you can double check by saying, okay, what are the lengths of the diagonal? And that's basically the way you make sure that your site is square.
Now that it's square, we need to stake it so it stays in place. Now that our corners are square, we're going to put the trench in around the frame. That will hold our rebar.
So as you're picking, you're getting there, you're getting good strokes, and you might think, oh, I need to take a big stroke. You might be tempted to kind of rear back and throw it in. It's a bad idea. There's probably going to be 10 people on the site, and if you go back and take a big stroke like that, who knows who else might be around. Long strokes, bad idea.
Make sure our concrete slab stays 12 feet inside. We're going to put a board that's been cut to exactly 12 feet right across the middle. Once we pour the concrete to it, we'll slip it out, and we'll use it later to frame our walls with.
The mud seal anchors hold the rebar in place, and we tie the rebar to the mud seal anchor. Once the cement is down, we wrap the mud seal anchor, the ends of them, nail them onto the bottom plate, and that keeps the house from flying away. Then we take a look at how level the form boards are all the way around the end. So we use a combination of 2 things, the 4-foot level and the water level. Now that this the form boards are level, we're going to go ahead and nail the stake in to the form board.
So where we want the greatest strength, which is around the ridge, around the edge of the foundation, we're going to lay down rebar, and it's going to be suspended in the cement by those mud seals.
And then just wrap the rebar with the tie wire into the mud seal anchor. A lot of families here have dirt floors in their homes, and so a significant thing for them is to receive a concrete floor. So the next step is for us to build the slab. A broken bag of cement over the top of a sand pile. After we've dumped this, we want to mix this all up. So probably what we'll do is mix the volcano over into another pile. and then we might mix it a second time to make and then actually to create the volcano.
These are the famous volcanoes, and it is the way that we've learned from the nationals around here to make the cement. Basically, we want the water to percolate through the cement and the sand to turn it into cement. So we're going to make like a wading pool or a crater in it, and you get a number of people just pull back the sand with their shovels to make a hole in the top. And we'll pour water in here. And then we'll just let it rest and sit for about 20 minutes or so, keeping an eye on it. The whole trick to doing cement well and quickly is that you get more than one volcano going at a time. Ideally, you have maybe 3 or 4 volcanoes going. You've got one that you're actually working, spreading into the different footings and different places along the site. You have one like this one, which is percolating or soaking. And then you have another one like this where you're in the final levels of shaping it. And then you have another one where you're just dry mixing it. You're bringing in buckets of cement and sand. And in that way, there's always something to do, always something going on, always wet cement, and you're going to get through the day a lot faster.
You need sort of a volcano caretaker, someone to watch it and knead it and care for it, love it, nurture it, raise it.
Right. It takes a whole team to raise a volcano.
At this point, we have a level surface and our slab is complete. And so the next step for us is to start framing the walls.
So now we're going to build a wall. You start by laying down 3 pieces of T111 that fit together tongue and groove. Then you find your treated board, your green board, to lay on the bottom. You need to measure your top plate and your bottom plate to make sure they're 12 feet long exactly. The outside corners are the most important. You don't want your wall to be like right or right. You want it to be square.
We're going to be using this square to make sure our angles are same at a 90 degree. So as you nail, keep checking your square.
We're just here to give you your daily message about measure once.
And cut, no, measure twice.
Right.
Measure twice and cut once.
Now, in an ideal world, your slab is square, and so you just would be able to put your walls up along the outside of the cement foundation on your slab, and everything would be great. But you never are sure that you're going to really have that square of a foundation. So here in this situation, we're going to help ourselves out by putting guidelines on the foundation. Because we're over such a vast distance, this doesn't give you enough accuracy over that kind of a span. So you use a 3, 4, 5 triangle that you create on your own with a tape measure. So now you have your basic square. You're able to put up your first 2 walls, and from there you can get all the rest of your walls.
We need to make sure that this corner comes together. And on the outside here, what's going on is this part, this smooth part, it's all smooth over here. It's all flushed together. And when that has taken place, you have someone else hold it for you, and you nail it in.
Okay, so we've got 2 walls up now. We've made a corner. And what we want to do is make sure that those walls are square, that they're level. Once the corner's set, take a 4-foot level and measure vertical going both directions. Move the wall around to make sure it's square. You take a sheet of OSB, lift it up, tack it in to hold the square, and we'll do that at each corner. We don't want to nail it all the way because we're going to remove those sheets of OSB later.
We're square everywhere!
Okay, when hammering short nails, save your fingers. Flat, not fat. That's a good tip.
Once you have your wall in place,
take the metal strands from your mud sill, and when you nail those down, they'll hold the wall in place forever and ever and ever.
Really important thing about siding, with the groove pattern in it, it needs to be straight up and down. You figure out if it's straight up and down using the level right on the edge of the siding and making sure. The other important thing with the siding is to make sure that the edge always ends on a stud so you have something to nail the edge of the plywood into. You want to keep the plywood or the siding up a little bit, and it's really hard to hold it at the bottom. So if you take a couple of fire blocks, stack them lengthwise, and then one across, you make a little lever that allows you to lift up with your foot. See how you can lift the plywood up and down just with the lever. It's a good little trick to get it up where you need it to be. We went ahead and put the siding all the way across the window. We're going to nail it down tight. And we'll come back with a power saw and cut out the window with the siding so you can actually put the glass in.
Next step in building a house is putting up the roof, which includes the ridge beam, the rafters, the OSB plywood, the tar, and the mineral paper.
What we're doing here is laying out our ridge beams. We've measured them and cut them to exactly 14 feet. Now we're going to lay out where our rafter hangers are going to go. We put the tape, start the tape on the inside, and then measure out 24 inches all the way down the ridge beam. Next step we do is we take a rafter hanger, but I'll show you how to put the one-piece one on. You basically center your rafter hangers right over your line, so they're 24 inches on center, and then you just tack them down.
Okay, we are putting up the ridge beam right now. So how we have done that is we've measured in 6 feet from the end wall and found the center of the end wall. And then we've done that on this side as well. And then we take a chalk line from the midpoint of each of the end walls. We snap a chalk line to find the center of the center wall. But what we care about is that it's in line with the center of the end walls, so the ridge beam is straight. That's the key point there. Once we put it on, it ends up straight. And now what we're doing is we're anchoring the hurricane anchors to hold the ridge beam onto the top plates. And then once that's in place, we'll start with the rafters.
Words to live by: drink clear, pee clear. We're dropping a chalk line from one end of the ridge beam to the other in case there's any kind of twists or warps in the ridge beam. So we're just getting a reference line straight down the middle of the house so we can line all the plywood up to it. And then because we know that the wood is cut square, it comes square from the factory, so when we line up the rafter to the edge, then the rafter will be square as well.
Today we are rolling out our roof.
Don't goof the roof. You are what you tar.
Start from the bottom and you work your way up to the top. When you hit the very top, you want to make sure you do one complete layer of that mineral paper all the way over the top of the ridge, since that's where it's most likely to leak. You probably want a team of at least 2 people for each roll that you're doing. You can do 2 teams on a roof at once, one on each side. What you'll want to do is have at least one person rolling out the roll of tar paper, making sure that as you roll, you're going very parallel to the edge of your roof right here. The second person is going to be coming along and taking the staple gun and stapling down the tar paper about one staple every foot. Okay, so next what we'll be doing is rolling out the mineral paper. In order to roll out the mineral paper and have it stay put, we use tar guns that are loaded with tar, a whole lot of fun. We've just laid some tar underneath this mineral paper, and now Drew's gonna come along and hammer inside of this section that's marked off with the orange line. He's gonna put nails about one every foot, and after he's put in that nail, Dan's gonna come back and tar over it. And the reason we do that is basically anytime there's a nail there, that means that's potential for leakage. So we're gonna cover that up with tar in order to keep the possibility of it leaking from occurring.
And now we're ready for the finishing touches. The paint, to the windows, the door, the curtains, and lastly, handing over the keys to the family.
We're putting the windows in now. This is one of the final touches of the house. The most important thing to do in this is that you want to make sure that the window is put in the right way. So the outside is on the outside, and the top side is on the top side.
So you see how fast you can paint all this trim if you do it this way. And I'm going through to get the edges. And the reason we're painting it before we get on the house is because we are able to do this while other people are doing other things.
Now let's talk about the door. With the door, we're concerned about two different things. You want it to be plumb and you want it to be square. So you want it to be plumb in two directions, so that it's level, kind of straight up and down this way, and level this way, and also square so that it's at right angles over here and here. So to do that, what you do is hopefully your door jamb that you built, that you framed out, is going to be square in and of itself. And so when you go to do that, you're still going to have to use some shim, some little pieces of wood that you're going to jam in between the door frame here and where you framed the door. So you jam that in to make it plumb and square. And after you put the door in, you can go ahead and put the doorknob on, and then go in your house.
You know, building a house is much more than throwing up walls. You could be an expert in this process, but still miss out on the key. And the key is people working together, being willing to serve each other and to be served by other people. So I hope this video has helped, that you look forward to being with us here in TJ, Mexico, and for serving God in this way.